before we get into the nitty-gritty of this episode, I wanted to give you an update on the S2000 and how it drives. So I've been driving it now for about 2 days, one of which, as you can probably tell, are here in the rain, and so far so good. Everything seems to be working well. We've got a couple of chronic little issues that we've run into. The ABS light is on, which I suspect we probably damaged a sensor while we were installing or removing it, but that should be an easy fix. Our EVS extra capacity diff is rubbing against the Tanabe exhaust system, only on decel, so it's also a minor problem, but we'll probably have to extend the exhaust just a little bit to fix that. Otherwise though, the car is fantastic. It drives straight as an arrow. The alignment that NV Auto did for us is really good. I'm really happy with it. So the subframe swap was definitely worth it. We now have a chassis and platform to start building off of properly, rather than what we had to work with in the past, which was just the real ASS2000. Engine-wise, everything's fantastic. The clutch works exceptionally well. It's light, good for street use. So Dave, thanks for making that right choice for us. We were a little worried that it was going to be too stiff, but it's actually spot on. The one gripe I do have is I've been getting a butt massage driving this car, and that's due to the stiffer engine mounts from Hasport. In my opinion, they're a little bit harsh for street use, for daily use at least. So if you're looking to do that, I'd skip them. But for us, it makes sense because we're going to be using this car mainly at the track. So the trade-off is worth it. Other than that, we've got a couple more things to add, and then it's going to be racetrack time. And I'm super excited to see what this car will do because it's been such a long time coming.
Next up for the ASS2000 is a set of Spek Pro gauges from Auto Meter. We've gone with oil pressure, oil temp, and water temp. And even though the car has oil pressure and water temp in it, we want an actual gauge that is reactive, reacts quickly. And these are very, very fast reacting gauges. They were actually developed for NASCAR. So they are a true motorsports quality gauge. And obviously when you go to the racetrack, you want to keep a closer eye on engine vitals. And we've chosen these three as the most important, and I think most racers do. So one of the advantages of a gauge like this is it's also got a warning light. It's got a high or a low warning light. So if oil pressure drops too low or oil temperature drops too high, we get that flashing idiot light. And for idiots like me and Pete, that's key. We've also got these gauge pods from Auto Meter, which are designed for this size gauge. So they literally just pop right in there. Comes on a pedestal mount, which we're going to go and test fit on the dash right now to see how they look.
It's going to be way too high.
They're going to be right in your field of view.
Yeah.
I mean, from a racing perspective, it's good that they're in your field of view because you're not going to miss them if the warning light goes off, but for day-to-day driving, they're just so high.
It's just really in your face.
It is very in your face. I think I'd rather be able to see over the hood in that area for autocrossing or to see the apex.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you should necessarily be looking that close to the car, but you know what I mean. I think I'd rather not have that in my field of view so much.
No, I do agree with you. I hate putting gauges in here, but at the same time, I think it seems like the way to go. There's a reason why so many people do it.
That and this car is nice in that it's got like kind of a lower dash than modern cars do. It's such good visibility.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I'd rather have them down here because they're still going to be very easy to read here.
Yeah.
Okay. Decision made.
And that meant it was time for some CAD work, meaning cardboard aided design. The key was to get the holes spaced just the way we wanted it, but because this is the ASS2000, we didn't actually get a level to position the CAD template. Instead, we just kind of eyeballed it.
It's critical to get it right in the center. Oh! Nailed it? I don't know if I nailed it.
Pretty good.
I'm coming back from here. All right.
We're going back now, man.
See how it rotates?
Yes.
See, that's, oh man. All right, DP.
I'm not gonna lie, it felt pretty dirty drilling holes in the dash, even if this is the ASS2000. But you know what? After the first one was done, it was just time to go full bore, knock those other two out, and see how the gauges looked.
In true rocket science fashion, we forgot to install the water temp gauge sending unit in the top of the rad. So I'm gonna unplug it or take the bung out of the rad as quick as I can and put this back in there before I lose too much fluid. Jammed a dirty rag down in there to pick up any coolant that we lose. But anyway, here we go. Let's see how this goes. On your marks. I don't even know which hand to go in. Get set. Go. That's the longest thread in the world. Oh, not a drop. Which means we need to bleed or add top up coolant to the system, I would say. There's still some water space in our radiator. That's not good. That means we didn't bleed it well enough yet.
We're rookies at this.
Yeah. Anyway, bung gone, sensor in.
If you recall, we had installed our oil pressure and temperature sensors in an earlier episode and fitted them into our Mishimoto sandwich plate. That left us with wiring the gauges, which we proceeded to feed through a driver's side grommet and into the engine bay. To clean the wire install up a bit, a plastic wire loom was used and fed around the engine bay, and we eventually plugged the connectors into their respective Auto Meter sensors. Zip ties to the rescue. Everybody knows they're a must-have with any wiring install. I'm always coming up short in life, and this is no exception. So we ran our wires into the engine bay, and the sensors are a little bit further than I think Auto Meter anticipated us running. So now we're gonna have to extend the plugs because they don't reach all the way over. One of them did. Two of them don't, so it's time to snip some wires, extend it, and we'll go from there. There's much debate as to whether soldering your connections is a good or bad idea, since the soldering point is now a solid core, potentially exposing it to breaking. I personally don't care what method you use, as long as the two wires are fastened together properly.
Nice little slice of ASS2000 life here for you. We dropped the lower steering column cover off, and it's got this metal plate on the inside of it that's completely rusty. How that gets rusty on the inside of the car is beyond us, but hey, we got what we paid for, I guess, didn't we?
After extending the wires, we fed them under the dash and out the gauge holes. I then crimped connectors onto all three power, ground, and light wires. So work continues.
Actually, Pete, it's 5 o'clock. I think you know what that means around here.
Man, oh man. So what? I'm gonna be left here all alone yet again.
Flying solo. I gotta go pick the kid up from daycare. That's what happens when you reproduce.
Get going.
I've been banned from the shop, have I?
Yes, I'll take care of it.
I'll hang my head in shame then.
Yes. I'm gonna videotape this and post it onto the interwebs.
Walk of shame, everybody.
Look at him disappearing into the light. The S2K's relay box has open terminals for ignition power and lighting, so that means this wiring job just got way easier. I've learned this the hard way, so make sure you've got a good ground connection because it can lead to intermittent problems in the future. I then bundled and zip tied all the wires up, which meant it was actually time to hook up the gauges. Popping them in place felt really rewarding since those holes in the dash look kinda awful without gauges in there. I'm pretty confident that the wiring I did is good, so these should light up. Let's see what happens. Oh, fancy. Looking proper. Let's see if this oil pressure works here. There we go. Look at that. Well, it looks like we're done here. Fancy gauges in a not so fancy car, but we're all about the functionality of it. So it's tolerable, right? Anyways, next episode, we will be at the racetrack, I hope, barring any other small incidents. But we're going to be at the racetrack, putting down a new lap time, seeing what the old ASS2000 can do with the new mods. We're excited. I hope you guys are too.
The Auto Meter Spek Pro gauges cost us a mod at $667.37, bringing the total spend on this build up to $19,361.56. On the next episode, we finally rip some VTEC. It's coming, and it's gonna be glorious.
Developed. Next up for the ASS2000, we also opted for these pedal